Death. In the wizarding world, death stands as a recognized cosmic power, complete with lore and laws that intimidate even the boldest witches and wizards. The tale of the three brothers makes it clear. Death thinks, speaks, negotiates, and gets deeply annoyed when people try to cheat the system. Unlike every other powerful entity on this list, Death isn't bound by wands, spells, prophecies, or ministry regulations, because Death is the reason all of those exist in the first place. Even the Hallows don't control Death, they're part of its toolbox. Wizards don't defeat Death, they borrow time, and when Death shows up, it doesn't miss. Not Voldemort, not Dumbledore, not even the Peverils. In a universe full of magic, immortality rituals, and delusional dark lords, Death remains the only force that always gets the final word, politely, efficiently, and without any paperwork. The Chosen One. Being the Chosen One is less special magical destiny, and more, the universe keeps dragging you into quests you didn't sign up for. Harry doesn't train for greatness. Greatness just keeps scheduling appointments with him. The prophecy locks him into Voldemort's Google Calendar, and from that moment on, reality behaves like his personal chaotic sidekick. Harry's real superpower isn't Parseltongue or bravery, it's surviving situations he absolutely shouldn't survive. Giant Serpent lives. Dementors lives. Getting yeeted by Voldemort's killing curse twice still lives. At this point, Death itself is probably annoyed. Meanwhile, Voldemort hears the prophecy once, misinterprets every single word, and accidentally manufactures his own downfall. The universe watches him do it and basically says, "Work smarter, not harder, Tom." Harry doesn't seek adventure, he wanders into it like a Gryffindor with zero spatial awareness. Prophecy gives him plot armor, comedic timing, and cosmic right to win duels. He has no business winning. Magic follows rules. Destiny follows Harry. Centaur Collective. Centaurs aren't terrifying because they can fight, they're terrifying because they can predict. These beings read the cosmos the way Hermione reads textbooks, instantly and with judgment. While wizards stare at tea leaves hoping for career advice, centaurs interpret planetary alignments that determine wars, births, collapses, and whether you should really be making that decision today. Their arrows are deadly, their strength immense, and their speed enough to make Thestrals jealous. But their real power is cosmic perception. Firenze is basically Hogwarts' astronomical therapist, offering existential clarity wrapped in polite disappointment. Centaurs knew Voldemort was coming long before most wizards knew the sky could turn green. They don't interfere unless destiny explicitly RSVPs them to the event. When they show up to battle, it's because the universe itself said, "You're up." They don't cast spells, they track them, judge them, and occasionally stomp you for messing with prophecy. Phoenixes. Phoenixes operate on a level of magic that makes every other creature look like it's running on Windows 95. Fox casually bursts into flames, resurrects himself, teleports through fire, and then shows up to heal fatal wounds like he's delivering Amazon Prime same-day service. His tears neutralize basilisk venom, the magical equivalent of dissolving nuclear waste, and the loyalty, unreal. Phoenixes bond for life, which means if you're dying in a chamber under a castle, Fox will dramatically descend from the heavens, blind your giant murder snake problem, and hand over the sorting hat like a magical loot crate. But they're not tools. They choose who they help. Voldemort, for example, gets exactly 0 phoenixes. Dumbledore gets 1, and honestly deserves 2. Phoenixes don't fear death because they literally respawn. They're ancient, powerful, emotionally intuitive creatures that show up exactly when needed, and leave before anyone can ask follow-up questions. Peak magical energy. Ancient dragons. If modern dragons are the wizarding world's equivalent of nope, ancient dragons are absolutely not. These legendary behemoths flew with enough force to alter weather patterns and breathed fire that made Fiendfire look like a scented candle. Their scales were magically reinforced armor plates that shrugged off spells, arrows, and most moral support. Wizards didn't hunt ancient dragons, they documented sightings from a safe distance and warned future generations never to go there again. Harry barely survived one modern horntail thanks to adrenaline and cheating. Now, scale that creature up by a millennium of evolutionary spite. That's an ancient dragon. Ancient dragons were apex magical calamities. They burned valleys into maps, carved mountains with their claws, and created legends just by existing. The Ministry didn't classify them under dangerous creatures. They classified them under, if you see one, it's already too late. The Basilisk of Salazar Slytherin. The Basilisk was never meant to be a creature. It was Slytherin's nuclear option, a magical in case of emergency unleashed serpent. serpent button. This thing kills with eye contact. No spell, no build-up, no dramatic wand duel. Look into its eyes and you're done. Even a reflected glance turns you into a statue, which is honestly polite compared to the alternative. Its venom is so corrosive it destroys Horcruxes, meaning it melts soul magic that's supposed to be indestructible. The Chamber of Secrets Basilisk spent centuries chilling in magical hibernation, then slithered through Hogwarts plumbing at assassin speed like a 60-foot ninja snake. It follows Parseltongue commands with eerie intelligence and hunts without making a sound. If Fox hadn't pulled off the ultimate support move, Harry would have been chamber decor. Basilisks don't behave like predators. They behave like magical extinction events politely waiting for instructions. Obscurial. Obscurials are probably the most powerful beings on this entire list. Yet, half the wizarding world doesn't know they exist because they didn't bother watching Fantastic Beasts. Snape is furious. So, let's fix that. An Obscurial forms when a young witch or wizard is forced to suppress their magic through fear, trauma, or abuse. That suppression mutates into an Obscurus, a swirling mass of ancient unstable magic capable of flattening city blocks in seconds. Credence Barebone is the strongest Obscurial ever documented, basically a sentient magical reactor wrapped in Victorian sadness. His Obscurus shifts between smoke, shadow, and explosive force, moving faster than spells and tearing through magical barriers like they're cardboard. Grindelwald treated Credence with the caution of someone handling a polite bomb, one emotional spike away from catastrophic detonation. Most Obscurials die young, but Credence survives, grows stronger, and terrifies every scholar who studies him. This isn't dark magic, it's weaponized trauma unleashed at full cosmic volume. House Elf tier magic. House elves are the wizarding world's biggest plot twist. Wizards spent years mastering wand techniques, incantations, theory exams, and still blow up their cauldrons. House elves, they snap their fingers and rewrite the laws of magical physics like it's a side hobby. They operate inside Hogwarts. Inside Hogwarts, which is supposed to be impossible unless you're ancient, legendary, or ignoring the rules completely. Dobby blasts Lucius Malfoy down a hallway with the same energy a toddler uses to throw a toy. Creature breaks through Voldemort-level enchantments to retrieve a Horcrux, then comes back home like he just ran a quick errand. Elves aren't lesser beings, they're magical cheat codes running on a different operating system. Their power is massive but subtle, controlled by loyalty and emotion rather than ego. If wizards understood how outclassed they are, they'd stop giving house elves chores and start giving them management positions. Honestly, Hogwarts would run better. The lethifold. The lethifold is basically a Dementor that decided life would be easier if it stopped being dramatic and started being efficient. Imagine waking up at night and seeing what looks like a blanket on your floor, except it slithers, climbs onto your bed, and silently digests you like a magical weighted blanket from hell. No noise, no struggle, no evidence, just gone. The creature glides under doors, hugs ceilings, and moves with the confidence of something that knows 99% of wizards are totally unprepared. Most spells pass right through it, which is unfortunate because you won't have time to cast them anyway. The only reliable defense is a Patronus charm, which is hilarious because by the time you realize a lethifold is in your room, you are not feeling particularly cheerful. Florian Fortescue once survived an attack, which raises the question, how many wizards haven't? The lethifold isn't a predator, it's magical vanish mode. Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds are what you get when Mother Nature wants to cosplay as a legendary Pokemon. These majestic North American creatures can sense danger before it happens, stir the air with their wings, and summon storms powerful enough to disrupt continental weather. When a Thunderbird takes off, the atmosphere literally shifts, clouds tremble, pressure drops, and wizards nearby start questioning their life choices. Frank the Thunderbird in Fantastic Beasts casually creates a citywide magical rainstorm that erases memories, which is absurdly overpowered considering he did it between snacks. Makuza treats Thunderbirds like sacred beings because they react to truth, lies, and moral intent. They're basically enchanted lie detectors with wings and an elemental damage bonus. They're also extremely loyal if they like you. If not, congratulations, you're experiencing airborne climate violence. Thunderbirds combine elegance, raw power, and weather manipulation in a way that makes dragons look like fireworks with attitude. The true master of the Elder Wand. The Elder Wand is the drama queen of wand lore. It doesn't care how skilled you are, how many NEWTs you passed, or how menacing your Dark Lord aesthetic looks. It only cares about one thing. Did you win the last fight? If yes, congratulations. You might have just earned one 1% of its respect. The wand chooses its true master through conquest, and once it bonds, it unleashes magic so amplified it practically comes with a warning label. Dumbledore used it like an Olympic sport, precision firestorms, battle magic that bent the environment, and duels so legendary wizards still gossip about them. Voldemort, meanwhile, spent an entire war waving it around like a fancy flashlight, because he misunderstood basic wand loyalty. Classic. And then there's Harry, who becomes master of the most powerful wand in history by disarming Draco Malfoy. Accidentally. The wand doesn't reward intelligence, it rewards plot twists. In the right hands, it turns ordinary magic into divine spectacle. Ancient giants. Giants today get a bad reputation for being disorganized, grumpy, and fond of throwing boulders at anything that moves. But ancient giants, completely different story. These were towering war machines capable of crushing fortresses, surviving direct magical attacks, and reshaping battlefields with sheer physical force. Their skin functions like natural armor, resisting spells that would level a room full of wizards. Even the Ministry admits that pacifying a giant colony usually requires diplomacy, bribery, or accepting that several buildings will no longer exist. Gwarp, who's considered small, casually uproots trees and shrugs off impacts that would hospitalize a Quidditch team. Imagine that multiplied by an entire clan. Giants dominated pre-modern magical warfare until dark wizard factions manipulated them into near extinction. When fully united, giants weren't an army. They were a natural disaster with legs. If they had organized better, Voldemort might have ended up being the second biggest threat in his own war. Dementors. Dementors are what you'd get if desperation learned to fly and decided to unionize. These floating nightmares drain happiness, warmth, and will to live with the efficiency of a magical vacuum cleaner. Their aura forces victims to relive their worst memories in high definition, which explains why Harry, whose trauma file is thicker than the Half-Blood Prince's potions textbook, drops instantly every time one gets near. Dementors don't see with eyes, they track fear like magical Wi-Fi, and their signature move, the Dementor's Kiss, is the ultimate uninstall button for your soul. Even the Ministry didn't control them, they basically bribed them with prisoners. Voldemort never tried bossing them around because even he knew, don't mess with floating despair ghosts. Only a Patronus charm works consistently, which is hilarious because it requires overwhelming happiness, a resource Hogwarts students simply don't have during exam season. Dementors are efficient, terrifying, and absolutely awful house guests. Hogwarts Castle. Hogwarts isn't a building, it's a 1,000-year-old magical cryptid pretending to be a school. The castle watches everything: sneaking students, suspicious cats, incompetent defense teachers. Nothing escapes its judgmental architecture. Staircases rotate not because it's whimsical, but because Hogwarts actively chooses chaos as its interior design philosophy. This place has opinions. It decides who gets shortcuts, who gets locked out, and who gets a trick step to the ankle. It hides rooms, reveals secrets, and shifts walls like it's playing a long, slow prank on generations of wizards. During the Battle of Hogwarts, the castle didn't just defend itself, it went full Transformer mode. Armor suits marched, walls sealed, and classrooms suddenly became war zones because apparently the castle had been waiting centuries for a legitimate excuse. No witch or wizard has ever fully mapped it. Not Dumbledore, not the Marauders, definitely not Filch. Hogwarts isn't just alive, it's the most powerful over-caffeinated NPC in the entire franchise. The Whomping Willow. The Whomping Willow was the only tree in history that needs anger management classes. Hogwarts didn't plant it for aesthetics, it was installed as a living security guard with a strict touch me and perish policy. Its branches move with Quidditch-level reaction time and hit with the enthusiasm of a bludger on caffeine. It protects the passage to the Shrieking Shack, and it takes that job so seriously it once tried to KO a flying car. Students who wander too close become instant practice dummies. Snape learned this the hard way, repeatedly. The only way to calm it down is pressing a tiny knot in its trunk, which is basically its off switch, that Hogwarts staff conveniently never mention in orientation. During the Battle of Hogwarts, the Willow attacked everything that moved. Loyalty? No. Equal opportunity violence? Absolutely. It's not a tree, it's Hogwarts' undefeated heavyweight champion disguised as landscaping. The Room of Requirement. Yes, the Room of Requirement lives inside Hogwarts, but it behaves like a completely separate being with its own personality, rules, and very dramatic sense of timing. The Room of Requirement is a shape-shifting, semi-sentient pocket dimension that appears only when you truly need it. It can become a forest, a hospital, a training arena, a warehouse of lost dark objects, or a cozy living living room with exactly the right number of squashy armchairs. The room reads your mind, scans your intentions, and generates whatever environment, tools, or protections you require, including food, potions, beds, and entire libraries. It even hides contraband so well that not even Dumbledore could locate it. And in Deathly Hallows, it becomes an evacuation portal to Hogsmeade, meaning it can literally reshape space. Unlike most magical places, the room has will. It refuses to help you if your intentions are harmful, and it can seal itself off if threatened. It's basically a magical 3D printer with a moral compass, and one of Hogwarts' most powerful beings. Now, speaking of the Room of Requirement, it's already created your next lesson. All 12 Muggle events that affected the wizarding world. Click now before you miss Dobby landing on the moon.